Welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host N64 Josh. Nintendo News Daily. We had the Treehouse event today, and I don't know that people were all that excited when it was all said and done. Now, I will say Pokopia looks pretty sick, pretty stoked on that one, but I feel like the Mario Wonder stuff was maybe just a bit lacking, and the the multiplayer stuff looks fun, but I just don't know what kind of, like, how busy it's gonna keep everybody, you know? So, we'll have to wait and see. We really did not get much more info about the single player stuff, which I think a lot of people were hoping for, so, we just gotta uh, take that as hopefully it's gonna be enough, you know? So, I see Steak is here. What's going on? Welcome on in. Good to see you. Uh, yeah, no hat today. That's right. Yeah, got a little haircut today, so I can uh I can go without the hat for a little bit. But what is going on? Welcome on in. Paradigm Steak, good to see you. Anybody else just lurking? Welcome, welcome. So, we got a little bit of news, a little bit of news to look at today. Uh, there's a Fallout 4 Switch Switch 2 launch trailer. And so you can get a better look at the wasteland. I got to give a shout out to Johnny Bo. He sent me a code for that. So pretty stoked to jump into some Fallout for the first time. Never played that before. Um TMNT Splintered Fates has new DLC, and so they're adding another fighter to the rogue like action if that's one you've been spending some time with. Also, Sonic Racing Crossworlds Tangle and Whisper DLC pack launches for free this week. Nate said he just woke up from the treehouse. That's amazing. I love that. So, so there's a little bit of little bit of news out there. Not a not a ton of stuff. Of course, we've got the Pokemon Presents coming up very soon. So that will be exciting. And Nintendo Switch Music update. You add Super Mario Land, the 6 golden coins. I mean, that's what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for that. So, Paradigm says I've been debating getting Crossworlds with the recent sale. Do it. Nady Nay will tell you do it. He loves it. He's a huge fan. So, um don't know. Let me see. I don't know. Maybe there's an update here. Remember we talked about the Xenoblade thing yesterday, and I was kind of downplaying it a bit. Like, is this really that big of a deal? People seem to be like, is it just this one Reddit user? Well, let me see. I'm gonna check my Nintendo news. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. I was wrong. Uh, Digital Foundry has gone on to say that Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is the worst yet. The Switch 2 edition is the worst yet. Looking at the article, it says there's been a lot of discussion surrounding the recently released Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. And now the team at gaming tech focused publication Digital Foundry have weighed in. This is from My Nintendo News, by the way, to debate, saying that it's probably the worst Switch 2 edition yet. Like what? This is crazy. It says we know people have not been happy with the results from the released product, and some have been asking for refunds. Though it should be noted that the problem is most will most likely be fixed. The problem resolves around the game's unusual upscaling technique, which just doesn't cut the mustard. And the Digital Foundry's got some videos out there if you wanna chat about it. So, like, what's like this isn't good, right? Like, this is not like you want to keep the trust of your fan base. You want to uh you want to make sure that it's things are that people are, if you, I mean, even though it's only $5, like this kind of press is not great. So I like what Midfi Senpai says. He says, or was the game originally so good that the upgrade was minimal? And I mean, hey, that's that's there is that. But I mean, when you look at certain games, like look at Animal Crossing, for instance, that $5 upgrade, the up resolution is pretty significant. And so, is this something they should have waited on? Is this something that uh that maybe they needed to get it like, get it get it a little tighter before it released? I don't know. Honestly, I'm liking what you guys are saying, right? Like Nady Nay saying, I feel like Nintendo may be doing way too much, biting off more than they can chew. But Steak makes a good point too. Says Digital Foundry, from what I've seen and heard, have been very nitpicky with the Switch 2. So this is also, you know, that's that's true. That does seem to there are certain things that they like Final Fantasy though. They were were praising the Switch 2 for everything. So, um, here we go. Mike Odyssey is here saying, "I'm only here for Nady Nay to spill more secrets about Josh for me to talk back at the podcast." Great. Just great. Well, welcome on in, buddy. I see RX Gaming is here as well. Make sure I haven't missed anybody. Midfi says, "Are they targeting 1080p? If so, are the complaints from people using 4K monitors? I need more context." Okay, so we dug into this a little bit yesterday, and the from what I was able to, you know, kind of get the the grasp on everything is it's more about handheld than it is docked. That docked seems to be like it's okay, but handheld is where it seems to be struggling. So, um, and again, it says the problem resolves around the game's unusual upscaling technique, which doesn't cut the mustard. So, I want to get into a full long video of theirs right now because I have something else up that I want to that I'll show you guys. So, um, but I'm just curious if it's going to end up getting patched or how they are gonna treat it. And we can jump into, I know they have, yeah, so apparently Nintendo's even offering refunds, and let's see, where does this take me? YouTube, my Nintendo news. So, um Paradigm TV says, mustard." RX Gaming says, "Mind you, these people are the ones that said Star Wars Outlaws was impossible and that the Steam Deck was way powerful. And then they got proven wrong." Also, that, love that. So, let me see. I wanna jump into the Reddit thread real quick, and so here we go. I'm opening that up, and we'll take a peek at um. Okay. Well, that's not exactly what I was looking for. Here we go. That just opened like, okay. So, um, so let's see. That's not. I'm trying to see if that seemed to take me to. All right. Every link I have clicked so far on this. Here we go. Finally, I clicked three different spots on the Reddit embed post, and it took me to three different locations instead of just to right to this post. So I want to jump into some of the comments here. So the first one saying, "Keep sending the message loud and clear. The only way to get fixed. Also prevent future Xenoblade upgrades from being lazily done." Uh, Someone said that's probably the case. I'm not sure what exactly what they're replying to, but it says this is going to be a test run for Xenoblade on Switch 2 and making sure it works properly both for future upgrades and the new game. Um, Someone says I think this problem is specific for X, uh, and it can't be fixed. X engine version simply doesn't support temporal AA and upscaling methods. That's why they have to use spatial upscaling filters. Someone else said I'm going to pretend I understand that. That is also me. Okay. Um, Paradigm TV says my Reddit notifications are blowing up from people mad about the Pokemon Red and Green. I love it. Uh, some people say I'd like to think Monolith is working on a fix as we speak, besides their good track record in general. I'm sure they don't want future Switch 2 upgrades and games hampered by bad opinions of this, but if Nintendo doesn't want the problem fixed, then that's another problem itself. So, I am curious about that first comment about, someone saying that it may be like, it may have something to do with the engine, because that goes all the way back to a very early conversation about trying to get this game from Wii U over to Switch. That was there were statements made early on saying that it was gonna potentially be impossible. So maybe there is something going on here that's the reason it's looking so poor. Maybe they also had to put more time into it, which is why they are charging, but do they charge for something that's not, like, super great? I don't it's I interesting conversation, to say the least. Midby Senpai says, "Basically, sometimes technical issues are tied to the engine. This is why games run terrible, have glitches when pushed past the native FPS." Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I'm curious how it's gonna all pan out for Xenoblade. I am very curious on what's going to happen and, how how it how it's going to look at the end of the day when they finally, if they end up doing another patch for it. The fact that they were so quick to start offering refunds is interesting also. So, but I mean, there are some people that are saying, this is not okay for charging $5. If this were a free upgrade, I would delete my updates. Someone else says, genuinely insane that it looks worse than the Wii U version. How is this even possible? So, um, yeah, yeah. Nate said, honestly, more proof that variable pricing is stupid. Jason is here. What's going on? Um, Figure drawing says, how about the beat 'em ups grifter to the max video? I didn't, I'll be real. I don't watch like I don't watch gaming YouTube or listen to gaming um stuff. I'm so far removed at this point. Like I just like I'm having a hard time with any, because it's like, no, it doesn't feel like anybody knows what to do at this point. Like the news is so dull, and uh, if you're a Nintendo fan, you're only talking about older games at this point. Um, and so, like, I mean, I get it. Got to, get those clicks, pay those bills, right? Midfight Senpai says, the Wii U was the goat, but no one bought it. Preach. Preach. Paradigm says never happy with cost from Nintendo at this point unless it's free. That's also that's very true. We're just in such a strange time. It is a bit of a strange time. So, uh let's see. Let's see. So, yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how this all pans out, and if they end up doing some kind of update for it. I have yet to. I downloaded. I bought it. Because I was excited to jump back into it. I just haven't had time yet, and so we'll see how it. I'll see how it runs, and again, I'm mostly going to be playing docked, so I'm not super worried about it, and I'm very curious if I'm gonna even notice a big difference or not. So I'll jump in. I'll jump in at some point tomorrow so we can discuss a little bit more. Um, But yeah, that's kinda I just wanted to make sure I went back and talked a little bit about that. Other than that, not any no major news. You know, we watched the Treehouse live event today, and, you know, I don't how are you guys feeling about it? I know Nate was a bit underwhelmed. I'm honestly confused about Mario Wonder. Like, would you guys be in agreement with me that Kirby seems to be the only game that really justifies the Switch 2, like, $20 edition? I think Mario Party Jamboree is close, but in order to get all to get to maximize that purchase, you also need to buy a camera, and, uh and so that one would be hard to put at the top of that list, but Kirby, you get the up-res graphics as well as extra single player content, like more story. That to me seems like the best way to do it. I really when I and part of it's my own fault. When I saw the Koopalings, I was like, "Yo, if they're all there, that means we're probably getting 8 more worlds. Like, they're gonna double the size of Wonder. This is gonna be fantastic." You know, I probably put my expectations a little bit too high, but it seems like everything that you're getting with this Mario update is essentially multiplayer, and then, like, micro challenges within the levels where, like, how fast can you beat this or how fast can you beat that? And, it's it and then the Koopalings are kinda sprinkled in as well, but they showed none of that. They showed 0. They basically said, "Oh, this is all tied to the Toad Brigade," is what it sounded like. So, I'm just, I'm and I also feel like they probably have the data, right? Like, they probably know how, like, maybe to a certain extent, multi-console households where, like, how many people are playing local, Mario Wonder, maybe their data shows that, like, it's significant. And I will say this, if, you know, it's a Mario Wonder is a perfect, uh, family game, like, a perfect family game. So adding a bunch of multiplayer, if they're seeing that it's like, yo, there's so many people that play this game locally, multiplayer locally, maybe that's the reasoning for it. Some of the mini games looked fantastic, but I got a message from Johnny as we were all watching it, and he's like, "These would be great online." And the majority of your mini games are local only. It does have game share, which is cool, and I'm pretty certain you could play all on one TV also. And I mean, there were modes that reminded me of like Tower Fall and like the Phantom Mask or whatever. Like it was like the hide and seek kind of like with tag. Like looks really, really fun. It's just what's the long tail on something like that? And is the $20 price tag for more multiplayer games worth it? And I've seen a lot of people saying like, why wasn't this a separate, like just a separate game altogether that worked on both systems? Like just make a Mario Wonder mini game that they sold on both Switch 1 and Switch 2 because that would get more people into it anyway. And the other conversation we've been having is like the assist mode would be great for both versions. Like would be fantastic for both versions. So that way, you know, if you got in my case, I got a little one playing Wonder on uh on her Switch Lite and she's handing it to me often and being like, "Hey, can you beat this level for me?" Right? Versus like turning on no assist, she's never going to fall like and she can complete the levels on her own. So, you know, that's something I wish was happening. And yeah, it just like one of the most frustrating things that we talked about forever on here with the Switch 1 was how many incredible games had really fun multiplayer like Heave Ho or Towerfall or any like that, anything like that, and then no online component, so you're stuck to playing. And so I think the other way that they could have made this DLC better is make every aspect of it multiplayer or of the multiplayer online. And then, you know, now there's now that's not gonna sit and collect dust for people that don't have, maybe they don't have family, they don't have a lot of friends coming over and gaming, whatever the case may be. Having it all online would have been um, a better decision in my mind. Because Wonder changes. You play Wonder, I mentioned it on here. You play Wonder, like play through the story, multiplayer locally. You're bumping into each other, I think, to a certain extent. Like, whereas when you're doing it online, the only thing you're interacting is with the standees or whatever, or rescuing somebody if they get killed or fall in a pit, they turn into that ghost. So I want to grab a couple chats here. Um, let's see. Nady Nay said, to be honest, my hype for this console is kind of diminishing. It's not too late or anything, but man, no, I mean it's yo, we talked about it last night. It's valid when, you know, I mean we there are new games coming. We got Resident Evil 9 this week, but if you have more than the Switch, is that going to be where you play it? Like do you really want to have Resident Evil on in handheld? I don't think that's where I would wanna play it. Like, it's gonna run it's from everything we're seeing, it's running smooth, so that's fine, and, the deal we talked about last night, like, I think somebody mentioned, I checked it this morning, it's like $89 and it gets you all 3 of those games. That's a steal. That to me seems like a pretty good way to go. So, um, because that's a lot of content for I mean, you're talking, like, a lot of Resident Evil, and I think it's all the DLC for the other 2 games as well. So, that's a fantastic deal. Uh, Grabbing some more chats here. Midfi Senpai says, "From a company that never pushed graphics to now want their fan base to be excited for graphic updates and pay for it, that's a pretty big 180." You're not wrong. Yeah. Yeah, and it's I mean, it's the and Midfi, you've said stuff like this before where it's like they when they kinda go away from like the much lesser technology and then they get into to better technology, it's almost like that's when they fumble. Like it's like Nintendo really shines when they're doing something like the NES or the Game Boy. Like look at the way like Super Mario Brothers, the evolution into 2 and 3 and the way 3 looked by the time it was all said and done. Look at Super Mario Land on Game Boy to Super Mario Land 2, like the much larger sprites and like really trying to squeeze all the juice out of that system and then creating something very magical from it to being now in this situation where it's like even on Switch 1, the first party games were super impressive. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe coming all the way from the Wii U looked amazing. Splatoon looked great. Uh Odyssey looked great. Xenoblade games looked fantastic. Right there were some hiccups here and there, like I get it, but like talking about a hybrid system. And so it it's interesting watching them navigate this the 4K, higher frame rates, higher resolution, all that kind of thing, and just seeing how they end up doing. So, Nate said overall it's going to collect dust for him on the eShop. So, Jason even said, yeah, it needs to be on both. And speaking of like the assist mode, and Paradigm says, I guess it's more Mario Party without having to create a whole new Mario Party. It is that like, and it's a different take on Mario Party. Like I really like watching the mini games. I'm like, these look really good. They look fun. It's just um it's just the fact that it's stuck to local is a bummer. That is a bummer. And I think one of the best things Nintendo could do this generation is what Sony has done on the PS5, from my understanding, and basically created the ability to have local multiplayer happen online, similar to what they do um, with, uh, like, with what they do with NSO, you know? And I think Steam even has a technology that works also, where you can take, offline multiplayer games and basically create that, that that online experience that way, which is like, I think that would be big for the Switch too. Midpie Senpai says it's almost like they have too much rope to hang themselves with. Restrictions are good. Switch OG or Star Wars OG trilogy versus unlimited budget with the sequel trilogy. Yep, there you go. There you go. Uh, Figure Drawing says PS5 Pro is like 750. Xbox is also money. Switch 2 is a bargain, relatively speaking. That's true. That is that is that is true. What kind of outrage existed when SNES games? Yo, I mean, like I remember. I think my copy of Perfect Dark was $90. I'm pretty sure on the we're talking like what was that 2000? 2000? I think it was $90. So um yeah, I mean, you see old advertisements, for Toys R Us and Sears, J.C. Penney. Like some of those games were crazy high in price. Just yeah, it was different times for sure. So, well, guys, we wanted to have some fun tonight, right? We wanted to have some fun tonight. So we're talking about we're grabbing classic games, right? And this is a series that that was near and dear to my heart, that I played not only in the arcade, but I also played it in the on the NES, and that is, oh, come on now. Not grabbing. There we go. That's Rampage. Rampage. All right. So this video, it looks like it's from Media Pool is the YouTube channel, so shout out to them. This is like a long play of the arcade version. Now, these these graphics, so good, right? Like so good. The NES is obviously going to be much, not this good at all. This was like I would play this in the arcade, but does anybody else feel like this was like the bowling alley game? Like I feel like Rampage was always at the bowling alley. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it was just in my area, but it seemed to me that like Rampage was always the bowling alley game. So I'm seeing some chats here from Paradigm TV says Rampage. Midpie Senpai says Rampage NES was fire. Uh, Nadia Nay says NES was my most played. I love that. That's great. Let's get through this Ashley Furniture ad real quick here, and there we go. So um, this and the NES was a game I played a ton. When I finally added this game back into my collection, I was super excited about it. I think I set up my NES to play it just because it's such a simple game. It's literally like King Kong the game, right? You you jump in with this monkey, this lizard, or this wolf, and you're just smashing buildings, and you're eating people, and you're fighting the military as they're coming your way. And one of the best things to do is, I think it was like certain stages had like trolleys, or like some trains that would go by, and you could, if you both jump down, if you're doing multiplayer, you could hit it back and forth and like rack up points that way. Like it was so great. And the NES version was uh was fantastic. Really fantastic. So um Nate says, I really don't remember Rampage at the arcade, but I spent a lot of time with beat 'em up games at the bowling alley. Oh yeah, Final Fight, stuff like that. Like I don't know, Rampage. So like even back where I lived in Washington, there was a small like kind of like comic book store. It was called Docking Bay 93. And they had a like a retro arcade in the back. And one of the first games I saw when I walked in was Rampage. Oh, and the level that you're seeing on screen right now, the train will go by. And so it it it's something that you can interact with and beat up. And I mean, you've got the military coming out of these windows, throwing dynamite at you, shooting their guns at you. Here comes the trolley. Let's see. Oh yeah, yeah, he hit it. So if you have multiplayer, you can hit it back and forth, which was super super fun. But you could eat the people as you were climbing the buildings, or just punch them, and you just were kind of this unstoppable wrecking machine. And then like there would be people like in the bathtub as you smash their windows, and it's just there was just a lot of funny stuff. If you ate something that was gross, you would throw up. And a lot of this stuff made its way into the NES. Like it was fantastic. And so for me growing up, I had a neighbor that he had Rampage. And I mean, yo, we're talking hours just trying to like we would just try to get as far as we can. Like the amount of uh what I would call Nintendo thumb from playing on that D-pad for too long from Rampage was so real. Like just so real. So I want to get a little bit of history on this game. Rampage is a 1986 action video game developed and published by Bally Midway for arcades. Inspired by monster films, players control a trio of monsters: George, Lizzie, and Ralph. Humans transformed into creatures due to various experimental mishaps. The goal is to destroy cities and combat military forces while staying alive. Um, the game is set across 128 days in cities throughout North America, with each cycle repeating 5 times. Gameplay includes destroying buildings, eating humans, and avoiding damage. Rampage spawned ports to various home consoles and computers, as well as 5 sequels and a 2018 film adaptation. Warner Brother owns the rights to the property via their purchase of Midway Games. So, gameplay was up to 3 players, control a trio of humans transformed into giant animalistic monsters due to various experiments related to accidents. George, a scientist who turned into a King Kong like gorilla due to the influence of experimental vitamins. Lizzie, a woman who turned into a Godzilla like reptile after swimming in a lake contaminated with radioactive waste. And Ralph, who turned into a gigantic werewolf after unwittingly eating a hot dog with an unknown food additive. The trio must destroy all buildings in a high rise city to advance to the next level. Eating people and destroying helicopters, tanks, taxis, police cars, boats, and trolleys along the way. Players can climb any of the buildings, punching them to pieces and reducing them to rubble. Non playable human characters within the levels can also be punched or grabbed, and food items can be eaten. The player's monster receives damage from enemy bullets, shells, sticks of dynamite, punches from other monsters, lightning, and from falling. Health is recovered by eating food items such as fruit, roast chicken, or soldiers. If a monster takes too much damage, they will return to their former human state and walk off the screen, which was always funny because they're trying to cover themselves as they walk off, and it's just this tiny little sprite. It's just so good. In this state, this was also funny. In this state, players can be eaten by another monster. So it was anytime your buddy died, you're always rushing down to try to munch on them. Uh, let's see. If the player continues, the person returns to their monster form. Or if the person has walked off the screen, flies in on a blimp, but has lost their previous score with a full life bar. Uh, Smashing open windows generally reveals an item or a person of interest, which may be helpful or harmful. Helpful items include food or money, while dangerous ones include bombs, electrical appliances, and cigarettes. Some items can be both. For example, a toaster is dangerous until the toast appears, and a photographer must be eaten quickly before he blinds the player's monster with his flash, causing it to fall. When a civilian is present, waving their hands out of a window, signaling for help, The player's points rapidly increase after the person is grabbed. Rampage is set over the course of 128 days in cities across North America. The game starts in uh, I think it's Peoria, maybe Illinois, and ends in Plano, Illinois. In Plano, players receive a mega vitamin bonus, which heals all monsters and provides large bonus points. After this cycle of cities repeats 5 times, after this, the cities repeat 5 times. After 768 days, the game resets back to day one. Game developers Brian F. Collins stated that the hardware couldn't support that much art, and we never figured anyone would get through 768 levels. So, uh, yeah, just crazy, crazy stuff. Midfight Senpai says the game is simple. No bloated story, no photorealistic graphics. This is what games need to get back to. No unskippable cutscenes. Exactly. Yeah. Figure drawing says the facial expressions are peak. No, they really are. They really are. Like there's so much good about Rampage. Like even at the moment I mentioned it last night, the chat just got so excited. And it's such a simple concept. It's I mean, like we need indie games like this. You know what I mean? Like it's so simple. You're just smashing the buildings trying to stay alive. I don't think anybody ever really looked at their high score ever. Like I don't think I like how many of these games back on the NES did we ever really like pay attention to the high score even though it was there? You know, like it just we didn't really care. Super Mario Brothers, was anybody really looking at the score all that much? Like I wasn't. I was just playing through the levels. So it's and like I mentioned yesterday, like these games, like what did they say? Five sequels, and so you're looking at like let's see here. We're looking at the franchise. I'll let you guys know. We got Rampage in '86. Then 11 years later, Rampage World Tour. Okay. And then Rampage 2 Universal Tour. And then you go on to Rampage Through Time, which was in 2000. Then Rampage Puzzle Attack and Rampage Total Destruction, uh, which was on Wii. And then you have another game that was based on the movie from 2018, which I just saw, by the way. I just saw it like a Dave and Buster's um, the other day. So, but it honestly, it kind of looked like a licensed game. It didn't really look it didn't really look or really have the vibe of the OG here. Like it kind of lacked a bit of the charm, I would say. So, uh, fantastic games, and I can't say enough good about them. These were I played a ton of them when I was in on the 64 in high school. Like it's not a game that I talk about much when I mention the 64, but it was definitely a game that I played both the game like um what World Tour and Universal Tour. Like they were I'm pretty sure I own them. I probably still own them. Like they they were great. They were great. And then getting into like GameCube and the Wii also, it was they were fantastic games. And like my daughters to this day, they'll still talk about like how much fun they had playing Rampage and where can I play Rampage and is it available anywhere? The uh the other thing I think worth noting is like there were other games kind of similar to this. Like I think Godzilla might have been like Total Destruction or something like that. I can't remember. It was on GameCube and Xbox. It was basically a fighting game with characters from Godzilla, and that was another one that my kids played a ton of. Like they they just loved it. So um, really just really great times. Oh, if you're watching right now, you're seeing they lost all their health and they're trying to get off screen while while holding themselves. So Paradigm TV says, "Is it on Arcade Archives for the Switch?" I don't I don't believe so. If it is, I will literally buy it tonight. Um I will, let's see. Uh on Switch. Let's see. Um No, it wants to bring up, uh, the original Rampage is not currently available as a standalone modern release on the Switch eShop. However, it was featured in some compilations, but I don't, yeah, and then you have Total Destruction, which was the GameCube game, I think was also on Wii. So but this would be a great one for, the arcade archives, like Paradigm TV said there to get, and, like because there were similar like, there was a, King of the Monsters is one that I picked up the moment I saw it because that was again, it was like you're playing as these giant kaiju just having wrestling matches in these cities, leveling buildings. Like, and again, it's just that kind of stuff is just that's like what video games were all about back in the day. It was just like how much destruction can happen, how many big monsters and explosions can I have? Like that's what it was about. And it was just so much fun. So loved looking back on this kind of stuff. If you guys got suggestions for other games to kind of look back on, let me know. Hit me up in Discord. Hit me up in the comment section on here on YouTube or on Spotify because I want to keep chatting these games. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about Earthbound. That was our NSO game of the week. So we'll be chatting some Earthbound and seeing what everybody thought about that. So thank you guys so much for hanging out tonight. I really do appreciate you. And as always, you guys play it loud.